Oh boy, my favorite time of day, the time I get to connect with you. We get back together again. And, I've been looking at these wild stories that are going on. I did not know, for instance, that the behind the shooting in Philadelphia, we found that it was actually a BLM supporter, like a transgender person. These are stories you're not hearing anywhere. And that's what happens. The news, you think you're getting it, and then you have to dig like I do to find out what's really going on. And it happens when you least expect it, you get to the truth. And that's the thing about the unexpected. I want to talk to you for a second about the food supply. I'm reading these stories all the time. Remember how we had like this bizarre rash of like 80 of these manufacturing places were burnt down? I have a serious concern about the stability of long-term food supply. That's why I always encourage people to prepare for food, prepare financially with the Patriot Food Supply. You go to lancewallnau.com/Patriot, and you can have what we're doing ourselves. We have a supply that'll take care of Annabelle and me, but I'm thinking about my children. I can't guarantee that they're thinking about this. So I've got other people, too, I'm preparing for. Would you please go to lancewallnau.com/Patriot and look at today's and this week's special and think about stocking up on what you might need, how you protect yourself, protect your family, and do it because it's the smart thing to do and you don't want to wait. Mercedes, I've got you today with me on the show. Do you just wave me down for something?
Well, I just want to talk about it because there's an $80 off for a 4-week food kit right now. So normally close to $300 right now on sale for $197. So this is a 4-week emergency food supply. I absolutely have one for my family. And in fact, I was getting Lance and Annabelle into this prepper stuff. I'm a bit of a prepper, but you never know what's going to happen. It's not just Armageddon you have to plan for. It's things like when we had the big freeze like 2 years ago and we had to take shelter at the Sparks had to go over to the Wallnaus. It's times like that. If you live in an area where there's hurricanes, I mean, I used to live in Florida. The power might be out for a week. And so you need to be thinking about things like this. I'm a big prepper. I believe in diversifying finances. I also believe in, hey, you got to make sure your family is taken care of just in case for those situations that you hope never happen. But if they do, you have a plan in place. So we love working with My Patriot Supply. Please go check them out, lancewallnau.com/Patriot. And they've got amazing pictures of what's up there. They even have things for soy-free, gluten-free. They have that out there too. And I know it sounds silly, but somebody like me, I need that.
All right. Let's take a look at some of the stories that are actually percolating out there. And we're going to cover a lot of them in the next 30 minutes. It's going to be bizarre how fast we got to cover this because I got to get them all in now. By the way, did you catch the July 4th message I gave on the day, the great Patriot Birth of America Day? Because I'm worried that we're getting past it and, we're moving on and we're missing that significant day. And what I said was, on the 50th anniversary of the birthday of the United States, which is, we put as July 4th, 1776. On the 50th anniversary of that date, both John Adams and Thomas Jefferson died within hours of each other. The two most significant living participants in the founding of the United States. And I don't know what it was, 1828 or 1821 or something, but they both passed away. And what was curious was Benjamin Rush wrote a letter to two of them, a third signer of the Declaration. And he said, I feel as though the two of you need to reconcile because before too long, the nation will mourn your passing. And who knows if it could be at any point, it could be by, like July 4th. We want you two to be reconciled. And the two of them began corresponding. And true to Rush's prediction, the two did reconcile and wrap together, in a sense, prophetically. On the 50th anniversary of the founding, they both passed away within hours of each other. Mm-hmm. And it's just an interesting statement. The other significant date that is almost synchronicity is like written all over it. Is the fact that the United States went through its greatest crucible of potential destruction in Gettysburg. And it was the moment when the tipping point came, when Lee came into the North and could have basically marched on Washington. Lincoln would have had to leave and he would have occupied Washington. It would have been time to just accept the inevitable separation of the country into two parts, one slaveholding and one non. But God in his providence had arranged things so that it was July 1st, 2nd, and 3rd of 1863 that the battle for American unity would be fought. And July 4th, on Independence Day, 1863, the South pulled out of Pennsylvania and never once came back to the North. You could say that that was another sign of providence ruling over the calendar of the United States in a unique way. But I feel as though there's reason to hope and believe that Gettysburg was a battle back and forth, but that the matter was decided. And that Lincoln gave that great terminology then. He said it's a new birth of freedom. We are at a tremendous crossroads in American history. I don't mind saying it. I'm going to sound ludicrous to the left, which doesn't really listen to me except to spy on me. But to a great extent, the forces ideologically that we're up against in America are willing the destruction of America as you have known it. If they succeeded in doing what they would do, the borders would be ruptured, we'd be in a Great Depression, you'd have anarchy ruling instead of law, and the very Marxist tenet of promoting one class over another would produce class warfare. You'd have devastating balkanizing of the United States throughout the states. That's what the devil would like. God is not going to let it happen. I believe that the Lord is creating an awakening right now. It may seem remote, but it's happening, which is why I'm saying people need to, go out to Mario and me in Colorado Springs, where we're going to be in July 16th, 17th, 18th, and 19th. If you patriots want to rally somewhere, those are great rallies to go to. You see Bannon and Lindell, and we do those various ones. We cover them for Real America's Voice. I'm going to try to do some coverage when I'm out there in Colorado, because I think these rallies are part of the American tapestry of a great awakening, a fourth turning. And it's coming right now in America. And I want you guys to all just go to, I guess it's fireandglorytours.com if you want to connect with us. And I'll be doing some broadcasting for RAV segments when I'm there, because I want you guys to see what's happening. Now, something Bannon said really distressed me. Steve Bannon the other day, he was talking to Ben Harnwell about the Catholic Church as an agent working with the Soros people. It distresses me to even say. I think of the pro-life Catholics that I care about and I work with. I forget that the Catholic Church itself, the Vatican, is like any other empire. It falls under the seduction of power and control and deception. And so the NGOs in the Catholic Church are those well-funded, nonprofit, evangelistic entities that are helping to facilitate the traffic of Muslims out of Africa into Europe and into Armenia and into other countries. They literally are the Underground Railroad for the destabilizing of democracies, including in the United States, all the way from Central America, South America, all the way into the country. Catholic NGOs funded by the Catholic Church. I mean, this is not only irrational, it's infuriating when you realize that we've got to deal with leftist Marxist. I remember once when Bannon said that Pope Francis, one guy was like blathering on about what a wonderful Pope he'll make, and Bannon calls him out. He goes, "What are you talking about? The guy's a total socialist. He's a Marxist." And as I was standing right there with him when he said it, that was when I met Steve. I realized he doesn't care who you are. He said, "Brother, let me talk to you about that." And he proceeded to sit him down and give him 5 points about this Pope. Play the video we got here. I think he's got a problem with a Texas member of the cloth here. What's the problem? Let's play this and watch.
Pope Francis, not at all happy that Bishop Strickland left Texas and went to L.A. and was part of the demonstration against these heretical LGBTQ nuns, which to me was a little strange because, again, as a Catholic, you're supposed to stand up and speak against those kinds of things. You're supposed to stand up and say, "Hey, don't make fun of my church." You're supposed to stand up and say, "Hey, we don't believe this." That's exactly what he was doing. Now he's part of a Vatican-ordered investigation targeting Bishop Strickland of Tyler, Texas. The inquiry is known as an apostolic visitation, which means they have some kind of hearing in the Vatican, and then they send kind of like a special counsel, I would imagine, across the pond. They send him from Italy all the way to Texas, and they have to go in and they have to investigate what happened. I assume they have to speak to the bishop and maybe some other organizers, and then they're going to possibly offer up some disciplinary action against the bishop.
Well, I don't know if it's going to be disciplinary, Mercedes, but I do think it's interesting that the drag queen, which is the sisters of the traveling confusion, whatever their name is, the drag queen women, men that were doing that protest. It was totally a mocking of Catholicism. I don't see why the Pope would have a problem with a priest standing in solidarity with the Catholic Latino community that was protesting at the Dodger Stadium. What the stupidity of the Dodgers trying to pull a Bud Light, concession to try to placate the left. What do you see anything in here that we should be looking at?
I mean, outwardly looking in, I think that there's a lot of questionable things that this Pope has done. There's a lot of great bishops. I mean, Archbishop Vigano, I think he was also cited. I mean, it's a really interesting, and also to the alliances that the Pope is making. It's a lot. There's a lot that's there, Lance. I would be interested to see what happens.
Well, I'm suspicious that he's becoming less. I guess maybe he's better than what comes next. That's the problem with these things. Everybody wishes the guy was gone. It's like Soros. They want to see Soros off the scene. Then you find out his son is like three times as young and twice as ideologically extreme. I don't know. It's always an upgrade when you get these things happening. So Biden taken off the scene and Harris comes in. Is that an improvement? I don't think so. I don't know. So we're going to have the only answer we've got is for the enlightenment of the unenlightened in America right here to become aware of what's happening. And that means I think the gospel goes forth. The gospel somehow changes the atmosphere. And in that atmosphere, you can change a lot of things. Now, speaking of a change in the atmosphere, is it coincidental that Hunter Biden is at the White House at this unfortunate time when they find a package of cocaine and they keep on moving? I love how the stories change. Nobody wants to tell the truth in Washington. What room is it in? My gosh, in my house, it's either the kitchen or the living room or the dining room or my office. It's like, well, it was in the library. Well, now it's in a working area, not the library. Well, technically not even a working area. It's in where you could come and go. Why don't they just point out where it is? Evidently, the problem is Hunter was there 2 days before and could have had access to the place. But I can't imagine Hunter, with all the present scrutiny going on right now, going in with a pack of cocaine, a plastic bag of cocaine, with it, and then, I mean, really?
You can't?
You don't think so? You think so?
I could definitely imagine it. Yeah.
Well, asked for comments, he denied it. He said it had nothing to do with it. He keeps his cocaine in his shaving kit.
Oh my gosh.
I'm only joking. That's fake news. So,
Fake news.
well, I think that we've got a video. When we come back, I want to play this from the West Wing so you guys can help to debrief with me exactly what is happening. Is it helpful for President Biden at a time when he is coming under increased investigation for his relationship with his son Hunter in terms of fraudulent business dealing? Is his play through the left, ABC and through MSNBC saying this is a love story of a father's dedication to his son who has an addiction problem? Is that playing with America? Or are Americans looking at this and saying this has nothing to do with a father's love for his son and has to do with a father's complicity with his son in a financial scheme? What do you say? We look for your comments, and we're going to be right back. Now, we are going to be right back, but this is live right now.
Yeah, we're live right now.
So you see, it's very confusing for me because I got to juggle. I'm not always up to this because, it's just the way it is. And I got my pure chocolate energy here. That's what'll keep me focused is pure chocolate energy. I'll tell you what I do. I got introduced to this. Somebody sent these to me. You guys are great. My audience is great. And someone sent me these chewies. It was a chocolate chewy. And I started loving these things. Is this bag open here? Mm-hmm. So these pure chocolate chewies, each one of them has, I guess, 200 milligrams of something. But it's like a cup of coffee. Is what
it's
it
like
is.
a cup of coffee.
It's like a cup, and it's a little chews. And so they're like delicious little chocolate chewies. And I've never had more than 4. But I mean, you might have 1 or 2, and it's like you don't have time to get a cup of coffee or but it's just a delicious dietary energy blend that it's got brown rice syrup, sugar, cocoa, dark chocolate, natural caffeine, green tea extract, and B12. So each chew is individually wrapped. I got my little packet here for my emergencies, and I got my big packet here for my conferences.
Well, and it's good too for people who don't like coffee. So Larry is not a coffee drinker. That's my husband. And he was trying these. He really liked them. So they taste like little chocolate chewies, and they're fantastic for, just a little boost.
Get them shipped to you, man. And they're really affordable, man. I go from what do we send them to? Pure Chocolate Energy. Go to lancewallnau.com/energy. Mm-hmm. Pure Chocolate Energy.
And I just want to say it's female owned. So you said, oh, somebody sent this to us. It's actually Kristen. She's amazing, amazing patriot, very involved up in Pennsylvania in the political landscape up there. But it's a female owned, woman owned company. And it's just a great, if you need a little caffeine boost, this is it.
Female owned. By the way, I just put a chewy in my mouth. I got to get back to Real America's Voice in a second.
Yeah. Hey, did you hear about...
Not smart. I just put it's like taffy.
Oh, I thought you wanted me to fill because you were chewing there.
I want to explain that decal you got. People can get the Lance Wallnau decal. It's on the front of your computer.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if it's on the website yet. Chelsea's going to have to tell me. But we are going to put it on the website.
This looks like Lance with cocaine. That's what I tell people. It's a very strange looking picture of Lance they did.
Oh,
did you do that in ChatGPT?
No, I did that in Midjourney. I like how you get them all confused. You're like, is it this one I'm supposed to use for images? And I'm like, no, but Chelsea made it in the Midjourney.
Chelsea made it. Are we ready?
Hey, did you hear about Hunter Biden's love child? How he's like denying the child's existence, and it's like DNA tested, it's really his and everything. Did you see that?
Well, I'll tell you what I saw was a denial of the grandchild.
Yeah.
That really infuriated the press. That I have 6 grandchildren, but didn't count the one that Hunter refuses to accept.
Exactly. Anyways, that's the TMZ part of the show.
Well, let's get back to civilized.
I know, we got to, all right.
Civilized broadcasting and enough of this.
Carl, give us the countdown.
Gossip. Countdown. I am so hot. Can I take this jacket off? Go ahead.
Just go.
No.
5, 4.
It's a shorter segment, too.
2.
The White House was engulfed in scandal during President Joe Biden's 4th of July celebrations as the Secret Service hunted for whoever was responsible for leaving cocaine in the West Wing. My gosh, is there no end?
Could you imagine if it was Trump, though? Talk about liberal privilege. Could you imagine if cocaine was found in the Trump White House?
Oh.
We would never hear the end of it.
Well, suppose Michael Cohen was there working for Trump and left some cocaine in the Lincoln bedroom.
Yeah. Or if it was Don Jr. I mean, the accusations that would be made.
We'd be all over the place. We'd be another raid there with the FBI. But the reality is, you're never gonna find out who left that bag. And by the way, cocaine is so expensive. Do you know this has to be somebody with a lot of money? This is not a worker. This isn't one of the plasterers or people in the chef's crew or the drivers. This is some elite with a lot of money, because that's expensive.
This is when the left, when they write about you, they take lines like that, like, how would Wallnau know how much cocaine is? Is he on cocaine? Like, I can see it.
I have had my days, ladies and gentlemen. If there be no doubt, we've all been redeemed from something.
Not recently.
No, not recently.
Correct.
No, not recently. Although my friend Kim Clement used to always use these aspirins, which were called, what were they called? Oh, Doc something or other. But there was this white powder, and it was nothing but aspirin powder. Mm. But he took them because he'd get these headaches.
Yeah.
And I remember, he took it once at a gas station, and the police came.
Oh, no.
To abduct them, and they had to show them that it's Doc Martin or something like that.
Yeah,
It's the name of the...
Well, no, those are shoes, but I know where he's going with it. I think somebody put in the comments what it's called.
It's something. You guys...
I know what you're talking... I remember him, though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I used to have to... Anyway. So do you guys want to play the video? Go ahead. It's worth it. I want to see if I got my facts straight.
A lot of people will remember first we had topless transgender activists on the South Lawn. Now we've got cocaine in the West Wing. What on earth will surface next at this White House under this Joe Biden administration? You know, many of us, unfortunately, were not surprised to learn that a Secret Service agent found a white powdery substance on Sunday night during a routine sweep of the premises. The dispatch audio indicates it was found in the library. However, Secret Service officials have since corrected that initial report to various journalists, saying the substance was actually found in a, quote, work area in the West Wing. I think that'll all really matter in the weeks to come as this investigation gets underway. But there was a brief evacuation while a hazmat team responded. The substance tested positive for cocaine, so we do know that. And a Secret Service spokesman tells the Washington Post, however, that more tests will be needed to confirm that finding. Now, the Bidens, they were not in Washington, D.C. at the time of the incident, but the first son, 53-year-old Hunter Biden, who we all know has a well-known, well-documented prior addiction to crack cocaine, he was at the White House just 2 days prior on Friday before the family jetted off to Camp David for the long holiday weekend, leading some to believe the drugs belonged to Hunter Biden.
Well, either that or somebody who was visiting him in the White House that was partying with him that was irresponsible with what they did. We don't know. We don't know. But I'm just saying, it's an expensive drug. It's somebody with money has that kind of drug. This is breaking news I want to give you because you're not going to hear it anyplace else. There was a terrible shooting incident that took place in Philadelphia. You're not going to hear much about the gun protests. You're not going to hear much from the government. You're not going to hear Biden. No one's going to talk about it because it doesn't support the narrative. There was a man by the name of Kim Brady Watson Carricker, who was arrested on Monday evening after allegedly shooting and killing 5 people. Police say they arrested a male suspect and on Monday night, and it's 40-year-old. The Philadelphia Inquirer says that Carricker was arrested on Monday. Seen posting in support of Black Lives Matter. Do you guys have that picture? Do you have that Article 21? Thank you. Breaking, BLM supporter, Kim Brady Watson Carricker names. So the interesting thing is you'll notice that Kim Brady actually dressed as a woman. So there's a man who's a Black Lives Matter activist dressed like a woman who wrote extensively about it. And you know it's demonic because one of his Facebook stories is titled, "How do you know if an evil spirit is following you?" And
oh, really?
So how do you know if an evil spirit is following you? And then you look at the picture that's there of a demon. You don't have that picture. I wish you did. Maybe I'll get it in post. I'll put it up there. But there's a picture. I found this on Newsbreak. How do you know if an evil spirit is following you? I think that this guy had an evil spirit. Just goes to show the gospel's the only hope. I mean, I could get all righteous right wing on all this stuff. But at the same time, I turn around and go, this person has a spirit that is not only confusing their gender, confusing their ideology, infusing them with hate and frustration. Then they go out and take out a gun and shoot and kill 5 people. This is mental. And the answer for that is deliverance. The answer for that, listen, I know it sounds crazy, but this is where the Great Commission or the Great Awakening has to intercept the culture. We have a whole lot of Americans that are like this. They've been fed craziness. They're getting fed transgender, queer theology at a younger and younger age. The drag queen bizarreness. It's all meant to like create this cognitive dissonance where that which is inexcusable and unacceptable and bizarre becomes normalized. And then what do? You have to normalize yourself to accept it. And then it opens people up to spiritual fragmentation. You can get a Jordan Peterson on and talk about how it creates fissures in the personality. And then there are spirits, there are dark forces that are unleashed when someone like this is a troubled soul. All of these transgender shooters, anyone who is a mass murderer and a killer, is demonized at some level. I don't care. And the demons don't care what color your skin is. They'll gladly possess any skin tone. So that's just the way that goes. By the way, you know, news is not always pleasant, but it's important to cover. And I had some thoughts I wanted to get out with only 3 minutes left on that Titan sub. Because there's another issue here. Some comments that came out about the 5 people that had died in that tragic implosion near the site of the Titanic shipwreck. I'm going to read you some comments that I think are illuminating, because this is where capitalism actually creates a scenario where government gets invited in to regulate. Because human responsibility is such that when people don't take responsibility for what they do, they create an environment where the government has to step in and do something. So here's a case where the CEO, Stockton Rush, repeatedly name-dropped NASA, Boeing, the University of Washington, when discussing his engineering for the Titan sub. But under investigation, you find that those links were exaggerated. They were not involved as extensively as he said. And so him dropping those names gave an artificial sense of security. One guy, Jim Thompson, wrote a commentary on this tragedy that I thought was poignant and acidic, but you need to hear it. He says in Red State, getting into a contraption that has Camper World shelves and is controlled by an Xbox game controller doesn't sound like a trailblazer. It sounds reckless, stupid, and suicidal. Just over 11,000 people have climbed Mount Everest. 310 died trying. Guess what none of them ever did, even the dead ones? None of them tried that climb with store-bought gear. No one was wearing Lululemon leggings and a coat they bought at Ross Dress for less. Sorry, I'm not getting into a submarine that has features that are sold at an outdoor store or Best Buy. And honestly, this was like part of the quiche quality of it was that it was like an Xbox control, and how edgy that it was minimal controls necessary to be able to make the sub work. Why are you smirking at me, Mercedes, and my son Lance?
It's a Logitech controller, because Xbox
it was a Logitech
doesn't
controller.
need the hate. Yes, it's a Logitech controller. It's a controller you get when you don't want to get a real controller.
And a final thought, Mercedes, your comments on this. We're heading into Steve's show here, Steve Bannon's morning show, and this is so profound. This is like, I don't know, we need a rabbi here to interpret this one. Got a video showing an Olympic runner taking the wrong turn just before the finish line, costing her the win and thousands of dollars. She had a $10,000 win, but she was distracted because she began following the police vehicle. Unfortunately, I guess it was a motorcycle in front of her, kind of like going along with the trail. And then they got out of the way so that these guys could finish the race. She followed the police vehicle. So it was in Atlanta, Georgia on Tuesday. Senbere Tefere of Ethiopia was winning the women's elite division of the Peachtree Road race when she accidentally ran off course around 150 meters in front of the finish line. What does it mean? It means, I guess, you gotta, what would you say? What's the moral of the story here?
Man, it's sad. I mean, she kept her eye on that police vehicle and not the finish line. So I think the moral is you got to keep your eye on the finish line. Got to keep your eye on the prize. Can't follow somebody else through the finish line. Got to have your eyes on it.
And then she got back in the race. Thank God she just did throw her hands up. She ended up getting 3,000 instead of 10, ended up in third. But here's the moral of the story. Run so that you win. Fight so that you obtain. Don't get distracted by the audience. Don't get distracted by the shiny objects. Don't get distracted by the public opinion. Or if the enemy sends something your way as an assault, ignore the barking dogs and keep on the racetrack, because you're in the race for your life. America's in a great race. We're in a great race, and I believe we can win it if we persevere. Now to Steve Bannon. All right, that was it. That was the end of that segment. And, well, I guess we did. That's a better ending than I was going to go further in the sub-story. But it's just everything. News is by its nature, not edifying, which is why I'd rather be, maybe I'll go back to the next segment we do is teaching. I get to do just the Bible.
Yeah.
So that's going to be great. By the way, for those of you that are watching for our next events, you don't want to miss. I'm going to be in Portland, Oregon. It's going to be with Cheon, Lisa Bevere, Lou Engel. Going to be a powerful event. I don't have my paperwork with me, but do you guys recall what the name of the domain is?
It's going to be on the screen, and it's Her Voice.
Her Voice MVMT. For those who are listening to the podcast, that's, I guess, abbreviated for movement, Her Voice Movement.
.com.
HerVoiceMVMT.com. And I'll be there on the 13th, but it's going to be the 12th, 13th, and 14th. Followed by a race to Colorado Springs, where we're going to be with Mario Murillo for a Fire and Glory. Woo! 4-story high tent seating 5,000. Signs, wonders, miracles, preaching. It's going to be wild, and it's really the populist movement. That's where revival meets reformation and America meets its future. And you don't want to miss that. in Colorado Springs, go to revivalandglorytours.com.
Fireandglorytour.com.
Oh, fireandglorytours.com. Oh, thank
Not
you.
tours, no S at the end for podcasts. it's
fireandglorytour.com.
fireandglorytour.com.
I think I did put an S on the last broadcast.
I think you might have.
I think I did that. Well, thanks for being here, Mercedes, and straightening me out, and I'll tell you, I don't know what I do without those live corrections that keep me on track. But we're cooking
really
with peanut oil.
It's not so much for you, it's for everybody else.
Yeah, well.
So they get to the right website and can join you in Colorado Springs.
Colorado Springs, it's going to be awesome. All right, remember this. Those energy things, those pure chocolate energy, 30 individually wrapped dark chocolate chews, dairy-free, gluten-free, totally kosher, and soy-free. Pure chocolate energy. It's kind of a curious little phenomena there. You want to get hold. And by the way, just go to lancewallnau.com/energy. And we're going to see you again tomorrow. God bless.
Did you enjoy this latest episode? Please remember to share it with your friends, because the more knowledge you have, the better equipped you are to navigate the world